Hey everyone, it's Hayden here, and I hope everyone had an amazing holiday. I definitely did, and I'm just looking forward to the new year of 2020. But before the new year happens, I did want to put out just a couple more videos because I definitely want to talk about my name and gender change journey being a dual citizen. There wasn't a lot of videos that I saw when I was going through this, and it can be definitely frustrating and costly, and it can just be really hard, especially when you're trying to research everything by yourself. So I'm gonna go through my journey. I'm a dual citizen of the United States and Australia, so my experience is going to be solely between those two countries. I'm sure it's going to be different if you're a dual citizen elsewhere, but this is just what I did and how I changed my name and gender between the two countries. I'm going to go over how much everything costs and kind of the order in which I did everything as well. So let's get started. Can't survive without my coffee. Anyways, so I changed my name and my gender in 2017 in the state of California in the county of Monterey. So at that time in California, there was a form that you could fill out that would change your name and your gender together. So I was afraid that I'd have to fill out multiple different forms and stuff like that, but at that time I only had to fill out one form. It was pretty easy, I'd say. I mean, I filled out legal documents before this, so I kind of had prior knowledge of some of the terminology and stuff like that. But the good thing is, if you're completely new to, filling out legal forms, or if you just don't know how to fill it out or have questions, in most counties you can just go into the courthouse and there's like a self-help area where they'll have somebody there that can help you fill out the forms or make sure that you're doing everything correctly, or at least that's what was the case in my county at the time. So when I filled out everything on the forms, I actually went into that clinic at the courthouse to just have somebody look over everything and to make sure that I filled everything out correctly before I submitted my paperwork, so that I wouldn't run into any issues there. The submission and everything of that form was $435. Now, this is probably the most expensive expense that I had while going through this process. They do have fee waivers available for people to to fill out and everything, so I would suggest filling out a fee waiver to see if you qualify. I unfortunately did not qualify for that at that time, so it was very unfortunate, but it was something that I desperately needed to do, so I found the money to do it. After filling out the paperwork and submitting the paperwork, I got my court date about 5 or 6 months out. So you usually get a letter in the mail, and they'll give you a court date, and that court date is usually a couple months away from the time that you submitted your paperwork. I got my court date, and then at that time, I was just basically waiting around, and court date came and went really quick. I saw the judge, she approved the court order, and then I went on my merry way. After getting my approval, I went down to, pick up the court order and the official, the original documents, the original court orders. I highly recommend you guys pick up your copies, pick up multiple copies of the original, because you guys are going to need it for a lot of stuff. So I think most courthouses do charge for multiple copies of the original. I was super lucky and got free copies, so I would just ask whoever's helping you, and I'm sure they'll try and hook you up with at least 3 originals. I think I got 3 or 4 original copies of the court order. So I was really lucky when it came to that. After I left the courthouse, I went straight to the Social Security office, and I changed everything with them. I got my new Social Security card, and that was free, by the way. They don't charge you for changing anything with Social Security, as far as name and gender that I know of. After the Social Security office, I went to the DMV Now, this was the most frustrating part, I think, of all of this, because you need like a certain form from the DMV in order to change your name and gender and get like a new driver's license. So I didn't know that, because online it just says you need like a letter from your doctor, your new social security card, your old driver's license. I think that's about it. So there was only like a few things that you needed, but that form was not a part of their website. So I went in there the first time. They said, no, sorry, you need to come back. So I basically got the form from the DMV and had my doctor fill out their form. It's a specific form from the DMV that you have to fill out. I can post it up right here for you guys, so you know what form it is, because it was a complete surprise to me and it was kind of frustrating going back and forth. But after I got that form, I went back to the DMV. I had my doctor's letter, the DMV form. I brought my social security card and my old driver's license, and from there I was able to get a new driver's license with my new name and my gender changed on it. That cost me, I think, $36. They just basically charge you the price of a new license. After that, I went and changed like my bank cards. For my bank, I just needed a court order, and they changed over my bank account and my bank cards pretty quickly, same day. And then after that, I sent a letter to basically all of my accounts that I had. I sent a letter to my school with my court order on it. And I basically just sent a copy of my court order and a letter stating I would like them to change any documentation they had to my new name and gender. After that, I started getting letters back from all of these places just stating that, you know, my documentation has been changed over, and that it was pretty simple, to be honest. After I did all of that, I got my new driver's license in the mail, and once I got my new driver's license in the mail, I went ahead and applied for my US passport. Now, this was a little weird because at first I was wanting to apply for a renewal because I already had a US passport, but it was about to expire, so I just thought I could apply for a renewal and, you know, send everything in like that. But if you're changing your name and your gender, you actually have to apply for a brand new passport, so that's something to keep in mind. So they sent all my, you know, paperwork back to me and told me to fill out a new US passport application. I filled out all of that. I included my doctor's letter and my court order, and of course copies of like my driver's license and my social security card as well. And I got my passport back, I think within 1 or 2 weeks with my new name and gender, and it was pretty hassle-free. That did cost me $145. So you're basically just paying the fee for a new passport. After this point, that's pretty much all that I had to get changed in the United States. So starting the process in Australia, I didn't really know how to go about changing my name, or, you know, how to even go through the process. So I actually emailed the San Francisco Australian consulate at the time, just their general like help or questions email, and I basically just explained the situation and explained what I was trying to do and how to go about doing it, and just requested information about it. And then I got an email back, and they basically explained the whole process and what I need to do first, and then what I need to do next, and so forth. So if you don't know something, I highly recommend just email or call or just ask questions. I mean, to be honest, like, I'm probably not the only one. I know I'm not the only one that's been through this process, so I doubt that they're going to be shocked or surprised or completely caught off guard when you call and ask about this kind of stuff, because just know that you're probably not the only one that's going through it. You're probably not the first one that's called about this kind of stuff. I just wouldn't be afraid to ask questions if you don't know what to do, because I'm a pretty shy person, and when it comes to like transition stuff, I really hate outing myself constantly and having to explain my whole situation to people over and over and over again, because, you know, we don't know if people are going to be accepting 24/7. We don't know if people are going to react well or remain professional, or, you know, I mean, because you hear stories all the time. And so I have anxiety. So, like, I'm constantly, like, overthinking these situations when, you know, most of the time they are going to go pretty well. So just keep that in mind. My experience with asking and calling and emailing people has been really great so far. I haven't gotten any, like, weird situations or, you know, any backlash or anything like that. So I basically just emailed them. They told me what to do. So my first thing was to apply for a name change with the Office of Births, Deaths, and Marriages in the state of Victoria. That document is also online. So I basically just downloaded it online, printed it out, filled everything out. With that form, I had to have 3 forms of identification, like, certified by a government official or a police officer or something like that. Just because I'm applying for it overseas, they have to give, like, extra hoops to jump through, if you will. So I had to print out a copy of my health insurance card, a copy of my driver's license, and I think a copy of my social security card or something like that. It's either 2 or 3 forms of ID that you have to either take to a courthouse or take to a public servant, which should be a police officer, and then have them verify the documents and then sign off on the paperwork. So I literally brought photocopies of my driver's license, social security card, and my health insurance card. I went into my local police department and I just asked, I was like, hey, I'm trying to change my name in this country and they're having me do this. And I showed them, you know, the paperwork where it says that, you know, I could use a police officer for this. And yeah, I got somebody to come out and they just verified the documents and literally signed underneath the photocopies of the forms. So that was pretty easy, a little weird, but that was free, so that was awesome. With that, I also had to submit, like, my credit report, and then you have to pay the fee. I think it was like $33 Australian to submit the name change paperwork. I just sent a check and all of that paperwork, sent it in the mail. And then I think about, I want to say 3 weeks later, I got my new birth certificate in the mail with my new name changed on it. That was a pretty quick and easy process. I didn't have any major issues with that. I then submitted paperwork for my Australian passport. Now, for my Australian passport, I basically just needed my new birth certificate with my new name on it. And I also needed to submit my dad's old passport as well. That's pretty much it. I think those are the only 2 things that I had to submit with my Australian passport. Basically, with your Australian passport form, this was my confusion, okay? I haven't changed my gender on my birth certificate in Australia yet because I have not had any surgeries. And so I wasn't sure if I should fill it out as male or if I should fill it out as female because I'm still legally considered female in Australia. So I filled out everything as female because I just didn't know, and so it was a little weird, but I filled out all my passport information, and then I had to actually go to the Australian consulate in Vancouver to submit the forms in person. So I went up there, I submitted everything, and she actually changed the female to male on my passport forms because I also came with like my court order that says like, you know, I'm changing from female to male. So she wanted me to submit everything as male. I don't know if that's just what her recommendation was or whatever. So I I definitely handed them like my doctor's letter and like my court order. They didn't need any of that. That cost me $293. So yeah, after that I waited about, I think, 2 weeks, and I got my Australian passport in the mail, and I had my new name and I had male on the gender marker. So it did work, and I was really excited about it. I was kind of nervous that there was going to be some kind of problem because I haven't changed my gender marker on my birth certificate yet, and so I was wondering if that was going to be an issue, but it was not, and now I have a new passport, so I'm really excited. Very happy about that. That was kind of the last major thing that I did. The only thing now that I have yet to do is change my citizen's birth abroad certificate and change my gender marker on my Australian birth certificate. In May, I'm going to try and amend that. I'm getting top surgery in May, and also I think the laws are changing over there in May, so that's basically the last thing that I'm going to be doing. Overall, this whole thing cost me around $1,000, and this whole process took me, I would say, about a year to complete everything and to get all the paperwork that I needed. It is timely and it is costly, and it's something that I wasn't aware of when I decided to transition. I would definitely recommend changing everything in one country first and then move on to the next, because if you try and do both at the same time, it's going to be just super confusing and just kind of a cluster. So definitely do one country at a time. I'm going to be posting links down below to any resources that you guys could probably use if you kind of just need some more information or resources. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. I've ranted for way too long, but I kind of wanted to get you guys a little idea of kind of the order that I did things and the price and everything. So I hope you guys found this helpful, and again, if you have any questions or if you ever want to talk or need help with anything, I'm definitely down to help you guys out. So anyway, see you guys in the next video. Bye.